Hello everybody, Anna Sabramowitz here, your interactive storytelling coach. Hello my interactive storytellers, how are you guys? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. All right, so try number 2 here. Hope you're having a fabulous Monday. Listen, today's session is going to be about something very important, which is a question that you as the e-learning developer, as the instructional designer, as the person putting together the masterpieces that you put together has to ask yourself before every project, and how this will impact the success and the satisfaction that you feel after you finish, and even throughout while you're working on it. So one of the things that I found is, as I was working through my project, sometimes I'd go back to past projects that I ran in my portfolio, and I thought, oh man, I could have done this. Or there's, everybody says hindsight's 20/20, but I have to tell you that sometimes what happened is I'd begin with grand intentions, and then my motivation would peter out, because inevitably, if you're trying to do something new, provocative, influential, it's going to come up against resistance, because everybody loves the status quo. Am I right or am I right? Right? Everybody likes to fall into their comfort zone. Challenging other people is difficult. Challenging yourself is difficult. And so what I found is that sometimes those projects, it wasn't that necessarily I didn't come up with those ideas in time. There is that. But there was, what happened is my motivation to keep pushing against resistance eventually petered out, and I just gave in, right? Not on all things, but sometimes I really did. I really, really did. And I was thinking, how do I overcome this? How do I keep that momentum going? Because as far as I'm concerned, a lot of times the reason these projects get finished, the reasons why they are successful, at least getting them to completion, is all on you. You're driving this thing. You're pushing every step of the way, right? Yes, you have looming deadlines, but to get there, it's on you, right? And that's what I wanted to focus on today, because I think that we do a lot of things for everybody else. We do a lot of, needs analysis for the business. We do a lot of, project management stuff to keep everybody in line. But what about us? Are we asking and answering this question for ourselves? So that's what I'm going to get into today. And if that sounds interesting, you'd better stick around. If not, that's fine. Maybe you need to do something more important. That's totally cool. But if you're sticking around with me and this sounds interesting, I appreciate your time. So what I'm going to do is just open up my comments right now so I can see them. Make sure if anybody's here, I can say hello. So you better say hi if you're visiting. I'd love to see who's here now. Okay, so this is quite important. Let me get into this. So one of the things that I found is that I used to do needs assessments, right? I still do needs assessments, but it's a little different now, and that's fine. By the way, if you want to learn more about how to craft your own interactive stories and do this for a living, you better go to elearningsecrets.com. And if anybody can put that into the comments for me before I forget, that would be wonderful. I would be thankful forever. So elearningsecrets.com. Go there. I have a free 2-hour case study there on basically how to go from zero to interactive storytelling hero in a couple hours. All right. So super awesome, loaded with value just for you. Take it or leave it. It's awesome. All right. Now, one of the things that I found is when I do the needs assessment, the things that are happening in the business, I'm trying to basically figure out, hey, is this project and is the approach that we're taking, is it going to be a fit for this business? Is it going to solve their problems, right? You with me? That's what needs assessments are for. And yeah, this is good. This is cool. It works for the business. But there's another question that you need to answer very clearly. Because just because the business perceives a need, right, doesn't necessarily mean that it's solving a real problem. Let me tell you the question that you need to answer, and then let me give you some potential answers that I've heard and I've experienced myself, right, and my students have experienced. So the question is, do you believe this project will make a difference? Really, will make a difference? And what problem is this project actually solving? Now, you might be like, Anna, that's okay, that's cool, that's nothing new. Like, we do that already. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Here's some of the answers I've heard, right? This is just recently. The problem that we're solving is that there's some updates. There's some updates that need to be done because some of the legislation's changed. So the problem we're solving is there's updates. Here's another problem. The problem we're solving is look and feel. It looks outdated. Now, I got to tell you that I'm not saying all projects do this. This is just one little flavor of those projects, but this actually relates into my case study that I'm going to do for you guys from one of my students, is that what happens is if you got a problem like that, and that's the intent of your project, that is not going to, one, personally push you. That's not going to help you grow. When you're on the 12th module, you're going to want to like basically slit your wrists because it's going to be horrible for you because you're just going to be pushing through just to get it done. And as far as I'm concerned, who wants to work on projects like that? You've got limited time on this spinning earth. Do you want to spend it doing stuff like updating text, right? Because basically that's what a lot of this stuff is. And yeah, I get it. It's easy money. It's almost too easy. And a lot of times what happens is we will begin these projects, say, I'm going to sneak in some good stuff. And then because you've set it out as we're basically doing updates, nobody's in on board on that thing, right? You're trying to, one of the worst things to do, and I've tried this, is to get a project and then try and like midway through the project, try and introduce some new ideas. It doesn't work. People are afraid. They resist. They don't want to be there. They think you're like deviating from what they've agreed to. So one of the things that I suggest is you ask this question: what problem are we solving with this project, right? And that problem needs to be articulated in 2 to 3 sentences. And there's a reason for this. You need to be sold on that project. If you're not sold on the project and the fact that you're actually making a difference to somebody's life, I'm not talking about the marketing department, I'm talking about the end user. If you're not impacting them powerfully and in a meaningful way at the very end, you're going to lose that momentum and motivation. It's going to affect how you show up. It's going to affect how many times you push through. And I'm telling you this because my students, they're doing interactive stories in our coaching program. If you want to learn about that, e-learning secrets is the place to go. But one of the things that we're doing there is we are trying to persuade and motivate people to take a different course of action, right? We're trying to get people to, we're trying to get organizations to think differently about persuasion and stories, because a lot of these organizations already have a ton of resources and they're trying to figure out how the hell do I get everybody on board to actually check these things out. And so to do things differently, right? To get different results, you have to do things differently. Are you with me, right? So one of the things that happens is they're constantly pushing up against resistance, and they're going to get a ton of that feedback that's going to say, can you just change the text? Can you just add these 4 PDFs? Can you just give them, the crossword puzzle, right? Can we do a crossword puzzle? Like people need to do crossword puzzles for definitions for some reason. Anyways, so one of the things that's going to happen is, your customer, their customers are going to come back with pushback. You're going to face this from every single angle in so many different ways you're not even going to, you couldn't even imagine. And one of the things that's going to do is beat you down. It's going to help. It's going to tell you, no, stop trying, stop pushing, just give them what they want. Not what they need, what they want. If you give them what they want, you will be one of those people, and if you know that it's wrong, if you know that it's not the best you can do, you will be, like me, looking back at your projects 3 to 4 years from now, or whatever, or just 3-4 months from now going, what the hell did I do? Why didn't I push through on that? Why didn't I tell them, show them, demonstrate, build a demo, keep on pushing? Maybe if I pushed one more time. Is it gonna win every time? No. But if you walk away from that project knowing that you actually did your best, you didn't just lie down like a doormat, that you actually did your best, even if they said no every single time. I know that I did my best trying. And you can't do that if you don't believe that your project is actually solving a problem, because it's not realistic for you to do so, right? You're not going to have that motivation. So that's why it's so very important that you sell yourself on these projects. And if the answer to that question, right, is not good enough for you, it doesn't get you passionate or excited, then keep going back until you've got the answer that you want. So here's some strategies. Now, the reason I'm telling you this as well is for you to accomplish your awesome dream of crafting an interactive experience that actually moves people to action, connects emotionally with them, they find it resonates, they find it contextual, they think about it after they finish it, they talk to other people about it, it shakes them up in their boots a bit because they didn't think things would work out that way. Those kinds of things, you can't build that by yourself, right? You got to collaborate with other people. You got to get people on board. You got to talk to practitioners. And so in order to do that, you as kind of the visionary, right? When you have your vision clear, one of the things that happens is you got to bring these people on board. Having a really strong problem solving statement, which ends up being really your mission, right, is a fantastic tool. It's not going to be 4 or 5 paragraphs of me going, well, what we're going to do is now, what's the big thing I'm trying to do here? And then when you say, hey, listen, Judy, listen, I need you to help me with this because this is the problem we're trying to solve. And it doesn't have to be, a lot of people are like, well, I work in an industry where everything's really boring. Like I work in accounting. My training's for accountants, or my training's for like legal professionals. Listen, I know that instructional designers are a different breed of people, right? We are. We love to learn, we love technology, all this kind of stuff, right? I'm not saying blanket, but yeah. Just because you don't find it sexy doesn't mean there's some accountant out there who's like, man, if I do this right, if I just shift this formula 1 percentage points or something, I could save somebody $1 million. That's exciting to them. So that's why you gotta get people like practitioners on your side who are kicking butt, taking names in the field, because those are the people that are gonna bring the passion in for your learner. So there's no boring topics. There isn't. There's somebody passionate about Q-tips out there, right? I bet you there is. So it's not about you. It's about the end user, and it's about those practitioners getting a source of them. So you need that mission statement, because if your mission statement, you're bought in on it, or they're bought in on it, sometimes you get that. Sometimes it's contagious. They're more excited about it than you are, but then you see the value it'll bring to them and you're like, okay, they're exciting. This is awesome. We can move this forward. You're going to be the driving force. You need to believe that. All right. So like I said, 2 to 3 sentences, nothing major there. And it's going to be your clear, distilled vision mission. You're going to come back to it and say, hey, what is this? What are we trying to achieve here? Now, what's really cool is, yes, a part of that, by distilling it to something credible and clear, is it always going to solve that problem? No. Why? Because nothing works in isolation, right? You're going to have, there's no way that a single interactive story is going to change an organization. It takes a bunch of little things all over the place, right? Butterfly effect. But it's going to have a butterfly effect if done right. Never, ever doubt that. It definitely will. And so one of the things that happens is you're going to have to say no to other things, right? You're going to have to say no to things like other smaller problems. And the way you want to think about this is, I got this from, this is something from the One Thing book. I forgot who wrote it. Anyways, and in the One Thing, he says, what's the one thing that you can do right now that'll make all the other things irrelevant or disappear? And that's how I want you to think about this problem. And that makes you focus on a real problem. And you can ask this to your stakeholders. You could say, if we solve this one problem, what are some things that then will become completely irrelevant or disappear? And this idea comes from something like, let's say you're training people at a call center, and you probably can train them on 20 different things, right? But if you can distill it down to say something like, if we make sure that every single call is answered within 20 seconds, would that make a lot of the other problems disappear? Potentially. It could be like people aren't as angry because they didn't have to wait as long. It would be that people wouldn't call back multiple times, our numbers wouldn't be skewed. whatever. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to clear through the mess. You have a single vision, mission, and it helps bring other people on board, and it also sells you on it. And like I said, if you're not bought in, you're not going to show up the same way. I know you're going to tell me that you do a good job every day, but we know this. You're not going to reply to those emails as fast as possible. You're not going to push back as many times as possible. You're not going to collaborate. You're not going to invite people. You're not going to be as friendly. You're not going to be as forgiving. All those things, because you don't have that mission in mind that you believe it. That's how these projects come through. So let me tell you about Louis, and then I'll go away. And thank you, Jennifer. And thanks, Paul, for being here. You guys are awesome. Thanks, Jennifer, for putting that out there. That's great. So here we go. So Louis is one of my interactive storytelling members, right? And what he's doing is he's worked with this bank for years now. Excellent relationship. And every couple of years or every year, what happens is the bank regulations change. They need updates, right? And he's like, listen, this year, I want to do something different. I want to make it the kind of compliance training that people will actually look forward to, or the kind of compliance training that will give them a hope that future learning at this organization will actually be better. Because let's be honest, one piece of training can be not only it's not only about what people get out of it, but it sets a precedent for what's next, right? So if your onboarding is terrible, guess what? Everybody's going to think that whatever comes next, even if it's awesome, they're going to be like, oh man, it's going to be more of that. Oh my God, did you experience that, right? So onboarding is pretty important. But this is compliance, therefore they have to go through it. And a lot of people, Louis could be like, listen, this is easy money. This is easy money. But one of the things that I think separates people in our community from other designers out there is they realize that the projects that they're doing are helping build their skill set and also adding to, their legacy in the world. I know that sounds weird, but that's exactly what I'm thinking is every single time you craft something, you're putting out something out there that speaks something about you and impacts people's lives. So imagine if all of a sudden these people who are just expecting the one more thing to come through, they're utterly delighted with the contextual scenarios and situations and the characters that are involved in this onboarding or this compliance experience. And that's what he's going for. So he's put together a prototype for them already. And what he's going to do is actually just show them what the potential is, which is super awesome. Now, one of the things that's going to be cool is that regardless of what they say, and he'll probably get that project regardless of what they say, he knew that he put together an awesome prototype for them to experience. And that in itself is something that it's his little skill set he can put in, because he put it together in 3 days. It's pretty dope, you guys. I wish I could show it to you, but 3 days. He's just like, let's build something for them so they can imagine what it is, because our stakeholders have no clue, right? And I told him, I'm like, Louis, don't even say anything about interactive stories. Don't even go there. Just show them what's possible, because they'll get overwhelmed, right? If you start talking our inner language before showing them, hey, look, I've got this. Look what's possible. He's showing up that way. Even if they don't go for it, that's cool. He will never be able to say, I didn't try, right? And that's huge. And he believes in making that experience better because it'll make even him proud to publish it. And that's what's important. So I wanted to share that with you because there's a lot of us who, Louis could say, oh, they told me this is the way it's got to go. This is the 3rd year. I'd better do what they asked me because this is important. But he's not going to stop there, because he knows that it doesn't make him a better designer, a better developer, a better learning professional if he just does what these stakeholders expect. They don't geek out on e-learning the way we do. They don't know what's possible. It's our duty to show them. So that's what he's doing. I'm so excited for him. We'll hear in the next week or two to see what directions they take. So it's going to be really fun. I wanted to share that with you because I think a lot of us, we think that our stakeholders have to have their way, but really, as far as I'm concerned, what happens is they don't know as much as we do. We are the trusted advisors, and it is on us. It is our duty, it's our obligation to push and to continue educating them and to continue giving them opportunities to see what's possible. Because otherwise, man, nothing's going to change. They're going to keep on coming back with the stuff they've already seen or what they've experienced, which, as far as I'm concerned, our industry has been stagnant for the past decade. Nothing's changed. So we got to keep pushing. And it's going to take guts. It's going to take effort. It's going to take continuous you coming back going, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, that's right. I wrote that statement on the board. We're solving this big problem. You got to keep doing that for yourself. You're one of the most important elements of this success. Whether or not it goes anywhere, in the end, is it also building your skill set? Can you go from project to project saying, I've grown? That's huge. That's huge, because if you're not growing, you're moving backwards because somebody else is. Somebody else is pushing forward, right? So that's how I see it. Now, if you want to grow, if you want to be a part of a community that supports you and gives you some tough love feedback and pushes you and supports you when you have those, status quo moments, I'd love for you to reach out. I have, I'll put a link to my calendar underneath here. If you want to craft your own interactive story, or you want to introduce your organization and you're facing some resistance, maybe you're one of those solo learning departments and you need some support in how to craft and bring this interactive storytelling world to your organization because you see its potential, I'd love to talk to you. Join the ranks of Louis, who just don't care about just getting the easy money. We care about pushing ourselves and becoming one of the best and changing people's lives in the end, right? So I hope this was helpful. Hopefully gave you a little bit of a push and a little bit of a kick and some inspiration. Glad you guys are here. I really appreciate it. I know you could be doing tons of other things, watching tons of other videos, but you're here. So I appreciate you taking your time. And I'll see you here again tomorrow. Take care, friends. Bye. Where are we? Here we go.